Hello and welcome to the Spooky Shack. My name is Gibby, this is Toto, and that's Withered Circle over there. We're watching one of his videos today. The FNAF Theory That Solves Everything Mirror Theory by Withered Circle. Link will be in the description. I think that this is going to be something I very much enjoy. I know a little bit about it. I know it has to do with the flip side and FNAF World and arcade theory-isms. So I have a feeling I'm going to be agreeing with a lot of this, but I don't know the conclusion, and I have yet to watch this. So we're going to see how it goes.
What if I told you that the FNAF lore's biggest mystery isn't the timeline placement of any of its games or the true identity of a character?
It's how FNAF World fits into everything, / God victim.
Or even the origins of Fazbear Entertainment, but instead, the core of the entire FNAF universe. The real reason the ghost of the dead kids appeared in the first place, the driving motivation behind the work of William Afton.
Well, I mean, we know that one is because he loves his children, and so when he sees them die, he really wants to bring them back to life, which causes him to start experimenting with life force called Remnant. This is the canon theory called will care.
The key to solving the entirety of FNAF 4, and the force that could help us solve the complete FNAF 4 timeline, it's here. It was always here. But we just never noticed. You see, the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has always been known for its cryptic lore clues, but there's a whole flip side to it that we all missed.
Technically, in FNAF World, they call the real world the flip side. So when he says flip side, he's talking about FNAF World, but from each side's perspective, the other is the flip side. But I'm sure he's going to talk about that.
This secret part of the FNAF lore has the potential to change everything. And the key to solving this vast interconnected
Look, it's Edwin!
Web of mysteries and animatronics is hidden in the most overlooked FNAF game ever made.
Yeah, so again, I have very similar theories about how FNAF World fits with everything. Basically, FNAF World is our best look into the ghost world, besides maybe Moon EXE from Secret of the Mimic. FNAF World is the ghost world, and so we get to see the spirits behaving in a way that is not bound by the limitations of the programming of whatever animatronic they're in. And so it's really important for understanding the lore, and I know that that's what Withered is going to talk about. I love Loop Victim, I love variations of arcade theory. I'm very, agnostic about which sort of interpretation of FNAF World and the minigames in the arcade machines is, the actual canon one. I have my preference, but as far as I'm concerned, it's just that, the arcade machines are haunted, FNAF World is the video game haunted spirit world. Whatever other conclusions you draw from there might have more evidence, less evidence, might be more narratively satisfying, etc. than others, and so I'm very, very excited to hear what he has to say, because it might overwrite my own opinion.
We all know that William Afton found out about possession early on in the timeline, likely somewhere in the early 80s, either after the death of David Murray, the death of his own son the Crying Child, or the death of Henry's daughter Charlotte.
Probably after Charlie's death. You're not Toto! Hate that guy.
Notice anything those three incidents have in common?
Two of them are named David, possibly.
Yeah, the kids died. While we all know that the secret to possession in the FNAF franchise is a substance called Remnant, which is basically a manifestation of human emotion fused with metal, there's actually another aspect of possession that's often overlooked. Memory. In the Fazbear Frights epilogues...
Well, I mean, he's about to read it out, but Remnant is called Memory Made Present. So yeah, they're related. They're similar things. Memory is Remnant, powers Remnant, something like that.
Dr. Talbert, a scientist researching Remnant, says the following. It's like the metal is haunted. It's similar to the way that water conducts electricity. Remnant is the mixing of the tangible with the intangible, of memory with the present.
Yep.
The people and things that are lost, it makes them almost real again. Basically, Remnant isn't just emotion, it's also memory. It's the imprint of a past event left on metal. Now, you know what's the one character that always seems to have a weird looming presence over the franchise? That's right, the Crying Child. Hello,
I thought I was just going to say Golden Freddy, or Ned Bear, as he would say. Yeah, I have a big video coming up about Agony and Remnant, and how I think they actually behave in the series. But it kind of sucks that every single video people need to read the same quote from Talbert, explain what Remnant is, and then actually begin talking, because 99% of the community just likes the games or likes old MatPat videos. They're like, I want to hear about the animatronics, and you have to give them like a breakdown into how Remnant works, and they don't want to hear it. Trust me, they never want to hear it. So hopefully we can make like the definitive Remnant agony video so that everyone learns how it works.
First, the Unwithered Truth recently put out a great video on God Victim that describes the supernatural occurrences surrounding Crying Child's possession. But essentially, the things the child saw during his life affected the world around him. The toys he saw on the playground were made into real characters, the memories of children standing on the street eventually manifested themselves into real characters, and so on. But there's one very important part of the spirit world that Unwithered didn't bring up to its full extent: FNAF World. If you look past the initial goofiness of the game, there's a darker story being told throughout FNAF World. The game we're playing is some kind of safe space. It's a place independent from the real world, but that is still affected by real-world events. The spirit world. Everything that happens out there has an effect here. You understand? But something has gone wrong, and it can be seen here. FNAF World is literally the opposite side of the universe. It's the spirit world, a place that influences the events of the real world, and vice versa.
Yeah, and we know that it can, they directly say that what happens in the real world can affect the spirit world. And we know that what happens in FNAF World can affect the spirits because it causes Happiest Day to happen. That's where I always want to kind of have a separation between the video game world and the spirit world, because the video games can definitely affect the spirits, and I would call it all the spirit world, but I still think there's a layer of separation, basically because I think that Remnant is attached to the arcade machines / F10N4 from Secret of the Mimic. The arcade machines can interact with the spirits. I don't think if your name is Joe and you die in, World War I, that your spirit is in FNAF World. I only think the spirits of the people who die around the interconnected Freddy's machines are in FNAF World. So FNAF World can interact with the spirit world and is the franchise's version of a spirit world, but it's not literally the spirit world. When William's trapped in UCN, if the one you should not have killed were to free William, he would go to the real spirit world. He would go beyond the virtual world where, the bear is talking to Old Man Consequences in that game. So yes, it is the spirit world, but only on a technicality.
That's why the Crying Child's memories ended up altering real-world events. They passed through the spirit world and made their way into reality. That's why the player sees posters changing and all kinds of hallucinations while playing the original FNAF games. They're spiritual manifestations, memories of the past. And there's something else hidden in FNAF World. The flip side. In FNAF World, if you go through...
So a lot of people currently, I know what he's going to say, but a lot of people currently conceptualize the real world and the flip side, the real world and the spirit world as being the flip side of each other. Withered has a different interpretation that I have heard because he talked about it on a live stream, and I think what he's about to say is super interesting.
Certain glitched objects scattered across the map, you'll find a series of layers going down somewhere that allow you to transport yourself through space. The Fredbear character we can meet in certain encounters explains more important aspects of the world we're in.
Something terrible must have happened on the flip side, because it's causing this world to fracture. Objects like the tree behind me are broken. I think that a lot of these monsters are misguided side effects of whatever has happened on the flip side.
While the spirit world is usually intact and whole, something terrible happened in the real world, and the fabric of reality is starting to bend and tear apart. Fredbear also cautions you to never go more than 3 layers down into the glitches of the flip side. If you ignore his warnings and go too deep, you'll meet a character called Old Man Consequences, who says you've reached the bottom, the final layer. However, if you submerge yourself into the lake he's fishing by, you'll glitch into a 5th secret layer, a still image of an unknown shape in front of a flashing light, simply labeled Happiest.
I will say, since whenever people bring this up, I feel the need to point out. So this is labeled Happiest Day in that off-screen there's text that says Happiest Day, but that's never actually shown to the player. I am personally always very apprehensive to use data that's left over in the games, the name of files, any sort of pre-release material in theorizing, because there could be a million reasons why it was not actually shown to the player. So, is this labeled Happiest Day? Yeah, but, like, not for the player to actually see.
If this sounds familiar, it should. The way we freed a bite victim's soul all the way back in FNAF 3 is by entering a minigame called Happiest Day. But what is the flip side? And what's on the other side of it? Well, I think it's simple. The flip side is the bridge between the real and spirit worlds. Look at it this way.
I told him he should use the diagram from Stranger Things. It's basically that, as revealed in the final season of Stranger Things, what they've been calling the Upside Down is not actually the opposite of their world. It's actually sort of a tunnel between their world and a completely separate world. So there's like this weird, physical tunnel between two planes. And so that's what he's saying the flip side is. It's the tunnel between the spirit world and the real world. So the flip side is not FNAF World. The flip side is that tunnel that you travel down to meet Old Man Consequences.
Kid dies in the Chomp of 83, Data gets passed through the flip side into the spirit world, bam, FNAF World and Happiest Day. The missing kids get got by William in 85, Data gets passed through the flip side into the spirit world, bam, you've got the other Happiest Day kids and the creepy ghost world of Into the Pit. And finally, when the spirits are freed by the player going to the spirit world, aka the arcade machines, and finding the secret answers, the souls stop affecting the real world. They've moved on. The real world influences the spirit world, and vice versa.
The problem with, the visuals, this is why FNAF is so hard. He's saying the real world affects the spirit world, and he's showing a picture of the Bite of 83. Is he saying that intending to show us the real world, because it's a real event that happened, or the spirit world, because it's an 8-bit minigame depicting something from Fredbear's past? It's confusing and difficult because almost nothing in the series is actually depicted in the real world.
Metaphysical information, the memory that influences the universe, has to come through somewhere, the flip side. And remember the defining feature of the flip side? It allows you to teleport through space. Well, FNAF World isn't the only time we saw this happen.
Ruin!
It's time for the modern era to fit into this. In Security Breach Ruin, the main character Cassie is connected to an AR network through a mask called the Vanny, the Virtual Augmented Neural Network Integration. She uses it to face through solid objects and, get this, teleport through the pizzeria. Just think about it.
Through a spatial quantum tunnel, other science mumbo jumbo. Ruin is so... I remember when this came out, I was so happy because it basically proved what he's about to say, which is that using computery chippy stuff can allow you to sort of traverse through dimensions or whatever. If you guys were here when I first released my 9-hour video a couple years ago, I finished that video I finished writing that video the day Ruin came out. And so that entire video was produced without knowledge of what happened in Ruin. And so to be immediately justified by what happened in that game, I was so happy. And I cannot wait to get to the point where I'm actually talking about this game. But yeah, Withered's about to talk about this and how it relates to the glitches in FNAF World, and I think this is a huge, important piece of evidence to prove that FNAF World is canon and matters.
Cassie is using an object to enter an alternate, augmented dimension that actively alters the world around her, all while having this odd, colorful digital look. If that's not the flip side, then I don't know what is. Just look at the name of the mask she uses. It's a virtually assisted way of getting into a neural network.
Yeah.
And not just any neural network. Note that the map of FNAF World is shaped like a brain. A human brain, of course. In a sense, FNAF World is also a neural network. So essentially what we saw in the original games through the real world, the flip side in FNAF World, is now being shown to us in the modern games with the AR network. And both sides of the universe, both real and spiritual, have a direct, lasting influence on each other, with events being mirrored through space and time. I'm calling this idea mirror theory. But how does it work, and what does all this even mean? Well, first of all, it means one very simple thing. Everything that goes on in one side of the universe must have an effect on the other. The real and spirit worlds, or the real and AR worlds, are reflections of each other. Mirror images.
Yeah, everything that happens out there has an effect in here, so that is important. I'm sure he's going to list off a billion things. But it is a really interesting way of looking at the events of the series in literal terms, because one of the things that always frustrates me is the Save Them minigames from FNAF 2, where you go around the restaurant and there's a bunch of bodies on the ground, People call that the DCI, the Dead Children Incident, and a lot of people think it's literal, and a lot of people don't think it happened at all. And I've always been looking for the explanation that it could be that something that happened in the real world echoed into the video game to cause it to, depict bodies on the floor without being literal. But even though that would be a great, get out of DCI free card for Scott, I don't think he's ever actually done that in the series. Maybe Withered will find something and can explain it away. But I've always been looking for what that thing could be.
For years now, we've only been working with one half of the puzzle. But now that we know that these universes affect each other directly, the pieces start clicking together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this discovery confirms for a fact that the Into the Pit game is at least relevant to the game's timeline, if not outright canon to the games. This ball pit, it's just like the portals Cassie goes through in Ruin, or the glitched objects we use in FNAF World. It's a tear in the fabric of reality.
So I'm going to push back on that just because not only do I not think that the game's canon, it can be in a different continuity and have the effects still work the same way. Like, if there was hypothetically a book version of Into the Pit called Return to the Pit, that just because the Return to the Pit works the same way that the games and the same way that the graphic novel and the same way that the novel does, doesn't mean that all 4 of them are games canon. So why would the game version be games canon? I don't think that line of logic actually works. And also, I famously don't think that the ball pit does any of that virtual stuff. I think it's literal time travel.
Allowing the person who enters it,
especially in the game. I mean, it's just shown directly in the game that it is.
Their way into the flip side. Except, I don't think the place Oswald went is actually the flip side. I think it's a warped memory of the past. A memory in the spirit world. Here's a quote from the Fazbear Frights books.
Blow out the candles, blow out the candles. Jake's friends wearing pointy cardboard party hats surrounded him at the table.
So this is an illusion that Jake is having. It's like a dream manifested in his head while he's been knocked out by Eleanor of a 9th birthday that he hasn't actually had because he's dead. So I don't know.
Smiling
we'll see where
faces
it's going.
that were soon to be stuffed with cake and ice cream. But wait, none of this was real. It wasn't even a memory.
Yeah.
Note that Jake says that these events weren't even a memory. This stuff never even happened to him in the first place. The events of the Into the Pit game definitely didn't play out in real life the way Oswald sees them. This is why I'm convinced the Happiest Day minigame is about the bite victim, and not Cassie like I previously thought. It's a reflected mirror image of this child's last birthday party, except if everything went right. It's even a perfect reflection of the memory Jake saw in Fright. This is what Crying Child always wanted, but it isn't really the truth.
Yeah, I agree with that outcome. I just don't know why we had to go through Jake's memory or Into the Pit at all to get there. Because the ball pit does not work the way that those memory things does. The characters are able to literally change the past when they go in the ball pit. Like, if you go in the ball pit and you do something, you've actually changed the present. When in Return to the Pit, when Oz meets one of his friends in the present, they remember all the things they did together in the past because it's real time travel. You're not just visiting a warped memory of the past. It literally tells us it is actual time travel that can affect the future. So I don't agree with that whatsoever. And I don't know why we had to use the quote from Jake to be able to be like, yes, the birthday party where he was killed by the Freddy's band, and the birthday party he never got where he was given cake by the Freddy's band, made him happy and set him free. I almost wish he'd have talked about Millie's epilogue from Frights rather than Jake's.
Looking to the modern era, we've got other parallels for the AR world. After Cassie's dad gets turned into a staff bot after the events of Help 102, going into the AR world shows his respective bot with a human brain. A sign that it's different. But wait a minute, for the past few minutes I've been assuming that the AR network plays by the same rules as the flip side. That might sound a bit confusing, right? Well, it isn't. Because the AR network is the flip side.
Yes!
Kind of. Let me explain. I think that when William Afton discovered possession through one of the 3 scenarios we discussed earlier, he didn't just discover Remnant, he discovered the power of memory and the flip side itself, and he wanted it. In the novel trilogy, William has an immense amount of knowledge and experience with the spirit world. He knows all the behaviors of the dead kids, and in the final book of the trilogy, The Fourth Closet, he literally inserts himself into the spirit world in order for them to think he's a friend. Wait a minute. In the movies, William also controls the spirits in some kind of supernatural way by warping their memories to turn against Mike, Abby, and Vanessa, and his death causes the entire FNAF 1 building to collapse in on itself out of nowhere. In the Fazbear Fright Set blogs, Afton outright places himself into and influences other people's memories, including those of the Citrave kids Jake and Andrew. And that's not to mention that the terrifying demonic version of William we see in Into the Pit can also travel between these two dimensions. So in every continuity we've seen, William is fully aware of the workings of the spirit world and outright tries to access it himself. So who's to say he didn't try to do that in the...
That doesn't happen in Frights, though.
In the Fazbear Fright Set blogs, Afton outright places himself into and influences other people's memories.
No. He man in room 1280s, explodes and agonizes all the items, and that's it. He doesn't do anything. Eleanor does, unless you think he's Eleanor. But that's definitely a significantly looser connection than in the Silver Eyes and in the movie, where by like drawing the picture of the happy bunny, he's able to trick the kids in like how they're perceiving reality as their ghosts. Because the movie and the Silver Eyes are basically the same thing. I maybe I'm just not remembering, but I don't know what he's talking about when in Frights.
Including those of the Citrave kids Jake and Andrew. And that's
Jake's memories, and unless he's talking about when Jake has the fake birthday memories, but William's dead before then. William dies about halfway through the Stitch line, and then after that point, it's only Eleanor. And Eleanor and some of the other villains in the series, they're not William. The book actually says that it's not William. It's sort of like the metaphysical substance that is agony or evil, that at one point was sort of feeding off of William, or using William's, not even his body, but like his visage. It was like a big rabbit. But after that point, it's nothing to do with William. It's just like the concept of evil. So again, maybe that's what he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about when Eleanor attacks Jake.
Not to mention that the terrifying demonic version of William we see in Into the Pit can also travel between these two dimensions. So in every continuity we've seen, William is fully aware of the workings of the spirit world and outright tries to access it himself.
Yeah, again, I would just say that I don't think that's actually the case in Frights.
So who's to say he didn't try to do that in the games, too?
I absolutely think he did try to do that in the games, though.
But unfortunately for him, he never got that far. Bad luck, meant karma, caught up to him before he could fully research it. Enter Fazbear Entertainment. Did you really think them kicking off their grand return to fame of a virtual reality service was a coincidence? It's not.
Well, I would say, some of the emails from FNAF AR tell us that the company is sort of, the internal workings of the company is being hacked by glitchtrap. That's what's getting Vanessa to be higher and higher roles in the company. So I don't know if Fazbear, the company, is doing this for any specific reason. I think that the brain behind the operation, which I think in the game's timeline would be the F10 computer, but you could just say it's glitchtrap, wants this to happen, as opposed to the CEO, the board, the chairman of Fazbear is doing it on purpose.
And one of the biggest reasons these kids are going missing is virtual reality. Let me explain.
Yeah, in all the Tales books, stuff like that happens just constantly over and over and over.
Tales from the Pizzaplex books, pretty much every story is about kids dying or going missing in some kind of over-the-top brutal way. Now, don't look at me like that. I know the books aren't canon to the games, and I know they're pretty weird, but they're still canon to the overall FNAF universe. In Tiger Rock, the main character is stalked by a murderous white tiger in a virtual hellscape. In Under Construction, the main character appears in a world where cancer runs abundant and every baby on Earth is a disgusting blob of organs and translucent skin. Did I tell you these books are weird? But anyway, there's one story in particular that is crucial to understanding mirror theory. Drowning. In Drowning, our protagonist Kara convinces a Fazbear employee to put her in an immersive Fazbear VR experience that promises to put her in a fun water park for what feels like hours. But the longer she stays, the more abnormalities she notices. A strange, ghostly little girl starts stalking her, always chasing her through the puddles and buildings of the water park no matter where she goes, until eventually, the Fazbear employee breaks into the booth, only to see Kara lifeless, her skin pale and dry. And the little girl that torments Kara isn't just anyone, it is a twisted reflection of a girl who received a traumatic brain injury while playing with Kara many years ago. Sound familiar? It should. This water park VR thing is literally a parallel to FNAF World.
So it's like you have someone and then someone who they knew in the real world who's dead, and when they enter into the VR world, they're able to interact sort of with that person's ghost. And then that's able to kill them. So again, you have the idea that VR or technology is how you interact with the spirit world. So I do think that's a phenomenal book-specific example of this phenomenon, a phenomenal example of the phenomenon. Is it a one-to-one exactly with the FNAF 4 bite? No, but I don't think it has to be. I don't think you need to, like, go that far and pull that in to be like, and that's what it's mirroring. To just say, you can use the virtual reality world to talk to ghosts.
A weird fantasy wonderland with a restless spirit who received trauma to his brain attached to it, longing to be free. And throughout these stories, it becomes increasingly clear that this VR world is an attempt to access the spirit world. But it's unsuccessful. However, by Ruin, Fazbear have successfully managed to breach the flip side with their groundbreaking Vanny technology. This allows employees to literally teleport around the Pizzaplex in order to fulfill basic tasks and fix the animatronic's most advanced workings using the AR network. One of the weirder details we can find while exploring the ruined Pizzaplex in Ruin are these wet floor bots that start crying if you put on the Vanny mask while you're near them. This isn't any random crying either, it's the crying of children. Victims of the crimes of Fazbear Entertainment, trapped in the gateway between the real world and the spirit world. The entire time you're in AR, you hear all sorts of weird spiritual sounds, the voices of people, the sounds of long-gone machinery. This imagery is very similar to the flip side in FNAF World, and just the nature of the spirit world in general. The AR network has managed to infiltrate its way into the realm of the spirits, keeping all these lost souls and memories trapped between worlds. You could even say the flip side has had a security breach. Is it ridiculous? Yes. Is it spoon-fed to us by everything we found so far? Absolutely. The real world's access to the flip side could even explain little inaccuracies in the fabric of reality like the ones we see in Ruin. A Monty soda machine turns into a Roxy soda machine. A wall turns into a door. A plushie changes appearance. A Freddy mascot completely disappears. It's these little glitches that define the flip side and the nature of the spirit world. Glitches caused by tragic events in the real world. While FNAF World's main story is about defeating the Puppet Master at the heart of the story, the secret ending of the game is all about fixing these fractures. The Glitch Bear will tell us we were created for one simple reason: to leave breadcrumbs for him to guide him. As the game goes on, we enter weird glitches in the shape of clocks to piece together the fractures of FNAF World. When we're done, the Glitch Bear says the following:
The pieces are in place for you. Rest.
Whoever we play as in FNAF World was created for one purpose: guide a specific person.
The crying child. I think this is well believed in the community at this point, where we're playing as someone, they do the clock ending, which is what he's referring to, and this allows the events of FNAF 3 to happen, where Mike dials the tile and plays the Mangle's Quest minigame, which then echoes back and does Happiest Day for the crying child.
But who? Well, I think you know by now.
Crying child. Yeah,
Child.
we know.
I'll be brief.
Got this.
Every
We're
single
smart.
one of these clock minigames is setting up a corresponding Happiest Day minigame in FNAF 3, the game where we free the crying child. One of the biggest sources of information on the Golden Freddy kids, Crying Child and Cassidy, is the Survival Logbook, an in-universe book for Fazbear workers that starts off with the following words.
After each night's work, we ask that you take a moment for self-reflection by completing the various activities in the pages that follow.
And on page 59, we see a giant mirror next to a word search. A mirror that, if you remember, was used by Hyperdroid to solve the name of the crying child, taking the letters found throughout the book, E, V, A, D, and reflecting them to spell Dave. The way you get the answer to the most cryptic ghost in this franchise identity is by reflecting something. This entire book is about tiny slivers of information from the spirit world making it into a real world.
Leaking through like glitches, and it's all through a mirror. That's smart. You did
Tangible
it. I
object.
agree.
The survival
That makes my
logbook
brain
is
tickle.
literally the one mirror theory to rule them all. Before we move on, let's recap and lay some more groundwork, because we are far from done. The real world and the spirit world are interconnected. Horrible events that create large amounts of Remnant affect the spirit world. And events in the spirit world affect reality. The fabric that ties these two universes.
We still have never seen that besides Ruin. Things in the flip world can affect ghosts by setting souls free, but I don't think we've ever seen them directly affect the real world. Again, it depends on how you interpret Ruin, but that I still think is a big claim that has not been proven either by the games in my opinion, nor by this video using other examples.
This together is the flip interconnected. Horrible events that create large amounts of Remnant affect the spirit world.
Yes.
And events in the spirit world affect reality. The fabric that ties these two universes together is the flip side, a mirror that reflects what happens in one universe onto the other, and allows anyone who finds their way into it to travel through physical space. We see this happen in FNAF World, both Help Wanted VR games, Ruin, and Into the Pit. But when something bad like...
Again, I disagree. I disagree with the Into the Pit thing. I don't think that the ball pit is remotely like those other things. And in Into the Pit game, there is literally an arcade game you can play where you have to collect hats and you meet Old Man Consequences. I think that would have been a better example.
Where DMCI happens, its effects ripple into the spirit world and cause tears in the fabric of the universe, allowing terrible things to happen on both.
That was a lot of effects.
Entertainment found
brain rot editing,
through some of
Withered
research, but mostly by tinkering with the VR network and discovering glitchtrap. This then allowed Fazbear Entertainment to experiment further by letting VR and its influence spread through the Pizzaplex, and by creating the Vanny network, a system that outright lets you break into the flip side. Now that we've put that out on the table, let's keep going. Because there's one key aspect of the AR network specifically I haven't mentioned yet. Mexes.
Fiona?
Mexes is the machine at the heart of the AR network in Ruin. It appears as a glitching, chromatically aberrated blue bunny whose sole purpose is to protect the AR network from anomalies and glitches. Doesn't that sound familiar? Yeah, it's the exact thing the player is tasked with doing in the clock ending of FNAF World.
I like
even
it.
down
I
to
like it.
destroying
I
the
like
glitches
it.
that surround it. And the Mexes machine isn't exactly...
Is Mexis a Glitch Eyes? Yeah. Because a lot of people think Glitch Eyes is a William in some way, and Mexis is kind of like a Fiona.
Actually a new development either. All the way back in 1979, we saw the early version of this machine, F10 and 4, in Secret of the Mimic. This machine is likely possessed by Fiona, the wife of genius inventor Edwin Murray, the guy who made the Mimic. In this game, F10's purpose is to protect the Mimic endoskeleton and prevent it from escaping the facility it's trapped in. If you go through with the parachute ending of Secret of the Mimic, you activate the cradle and it accidentally destroys Murray's costume manor, allowing the Mimic to break free. The reason I bring this up is that the Mimic is actually a key player in all this, because one of the biggest mysteries Mirror Theory helps solve is what the Mimic was really up to during Security Breach. Security Breach's story isn't 100% clear, and it isn't 100% solved either. But by far the biggest question mark from this game is Burntrap, the final boss of the Afton ending. For years now, we've been debating whether he's purely the remains of Springtrap, aka William Afton, if he's an endo with someone's corpse slapped onto it, if he's the Mimic. The options seem nearly endless and interchangeable. Well, I think with Mirror Theory, we finally got an answer. Remember, under Mirror Theory, everything that goes on in one universe has its effect on the other. Think of it like Newton's third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So we should look to the AR network to see what's really going on with this guy. I think that the best parallel for Burntrap in the modern story is Glitchtrap. Again, the debates over this character have been raging on for years, but it's very clear that these two are meant to accomplish the same thing. Bring Afton back. I think the identity of Glitchtrap is pretty clear now. The core programming of this thing is a strain of the Mimic program, imitating the actions of Afton while he was alive, but there's a shard of Afton's consciousness, puppeteering the Mimic, if you will, attached to the program. This theory is most commonly known as Glitch Both, so keep that in mind. This is shown in the ending of Secret of the Mimic, where the Mimic stuffs us into a costume in the show stage of the prototype Freddy Fazbear's, a perfect mirror image of what it does in Help Wanted's Pizza Party ending. One of these things happens in the real world, and one on the flip side, the spirit world, aka the AR world. More Mirror Theory, anyone? The Mimic is copying its past actions and the behaviors of Afton, explaining why it's so cold, calculating, and mechanical while still maintaining the core, unpredictable evil of William. Afton is there somewhere. This also explains the more paranormal aspects of Glitchtrap's existence, such as him saying, "I always come back" in the Princess Quest minigame, and some of the other more peculiar things he does throughout the modern games, like actually just possessing people. There's honestly a lot more to this that I won't get into right now, because all this is to say that I think Glitchtrap and Burntrap are mirror images of each other following Mirror Theory. But there's a real nail in the coffin. At the end of Help Wanted 2's base ending, the character is placed in front of Burntrap's charging pod, and the hand that emerges from it is Glitchtrap's hand, in the same way Burntrap does in Security Breach.
So the creation of Mimic or glitch trap mimic, because it's mimic, oh my god, it's glitch both, creates burntrap, or is Vanessa still physically assembling burntrap in the real world, which gives glitchtrap more consciousness, or because one happens, fate comes in and makes the other one happen? I'm not entirely clear what you're saying. And what you're probably saying is that we'll learn in a future game. You're just saying that they do mirror each other, which would be evidence of, like, the idea of mirror theory. But I'm curious if you're going to answer that now with a theory, or if you're just going to say we will learn it in the future.
So if these two are mirror images and follow the same rough rules and principles like we saw with Happiest Day, Into the Pit, FNAF World, Ruin, and so on, that means the nature of burntrap has to be inherently similar to that of glitchtrap. Hence why I think burntrap is actually the mimic endoskeleton wearing the charred, burnt corpse of William Afton. So there you have it. The appearance of glitchtrap in the Fazbear VR experience created a ripple for the flip side that essentially directly led to the creation of burntrap. I think that by using this simple rule of thumb, if one thing happens in one universe, something...
Again, so the things happening in the virtual world echoing to the real world is the one thing we don't actually have an example of in the entire series. And so saying, well, the one time we do actually see it is mimic glitchtrap creating burntrap, which is an event that we don't see on screen, I do think that's a big sell. I agree with the theory, but the one example of fake world interacting with real world being something that we don't see in is, I guess, like the sell of the video, I just don't see as super, like, convincing. Again, I agree that they're related. I don't know if this is how Scott intended us to get to solve that they're related.
I think by this point you're tired of hearing the words mirror, reflection, flip side, and so on, but I hope you understand that if mirror theory is true, it could crack an insane part of the FNAF lore wide open. This isn't just a theory. This is a rule that, if followed, can reveal some absolutely insane things that we might not have noticed yet.
Yeah, which is why, again, if you agree with the theory, it does explain burntrap, and I like it. I just think that we need, like, one more example of that being how that works, and also, just like a slam dunk, you didn't talk about moon.exe, where if you find an item in the real world, it appears in the virtual world. Like, you find a thing as Arnold, and you log into the computer, and there it is. Like, that. What a slam dunk mirror theory. I'm surprised you didn't really talk about Secret of the Mimic at all on this. Because the other thing that you do is within the game, you put all of David's memories together, and then in the real world, this allows you to allow David to, like, possess and control the actual mimic endoskeleton. So the way that these things interact with each other is very mirror theory coded. I'm shocked that wasn't brought up.
If you thought of something I haven't, or seen a detail that you think I misinterpreted, please let me know in the comments. Teamwork is how we solve, and always have solved, this franchise. Obviously, mirror theory isn't perfect. We haven't got a proper look at the inner workings of the AR network yet, and FNAF World has some dubiously canon moments that could throw some things off. However, I fully believe that this is meant to be important in some way, and that there are even more lore-breaking discoveries waiting for us. Like the one I just found. You really thought the video was over, didn't you? Well,
I
tough
did.
luck. Sit back down, there's still a bit more to go. Remember how I brought up that mirror theory could help us solve the truth behind FNAF 4 all the way back at the beginning of the video? You probably don't. And if you do, good job. I promise I'll keep my word. This video is already very elaborate and very long, and I don't want to make it longer than it already is. But let's just say me and some other theorists have been thinking about this kid for a long time, and I think there might be an answer that we all missed hiding in plain sight. You know how FNAF theories go. And no, it's not Cassidy Victim or BV5, for those of you far gone enough to know what those phrases mean. For those of you who don't worry about it. Just subscribe so you don't miss my explanation, and sequel to Mirror Theory, I guess. And with that,
Gasp.
That's actually all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video.
Everyone right now, go and subscribe and become a member to Withered Circle, dear friend of mine, even if he is wrong about Will Care. He's been hyping this video up for a really long time, and I'm very glad that it turned out as good as it did. First of all, editing and everything like that, incredible. Some of it made my eyes bleed, but that's just because I'm old. Whenever a video like this comes out, there's always the, like, is this going to affect the terminology of the fandom? And I think the idea of mirror theory being the concept that whatever happens on one side happens on the other might be something that we just use as shorthand going forward. Like, oh yeah, this happened, and then due to mirror theory, this happened. As someone who's about to embark on my project, making a video about all the Tales books, I'm definitely going to use that as an excuse to look for mirror theory-isms. Like Withered, I'm going to look in the stories for more things like this. I got no notes other than I disagree on how the pit in Into the Pit works, and I think that it's a big ask to say that glitchtrap creates burntrap via mirror theory when we've never actually seen something in the spirit world affect the real world. But beyond that super important video, this is a canon video, guys, okay? The cultural canon of FNAF theories, you gotta watch mirror theory. It's a theory that it's impossible for me to say, because you guys don't like how I pronounce the word mirror. When I reacted to this, there's a lot of parts I cut out, so there is more for you to go and see, especially, like, he had 3 small theories at the end relating to, like, other games and other aspects of, like, what this could imply for the franchise. So make sure you go and you watch the entire video. It'll be linked below, of course. But the most important thing is, be sure to be nice to each other in the comments. Consider supporting creators you admire, like Withered Circle. Never lose sight of what's important to you, and remember, FREDDY stands for Friendly, Respectful Engagement, Discussion, and Discourse Yield Success. Thank you for watching, and maybe you're going to want to watch one of these other videos. One of them is something that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy, and the other is me reacting to a T-Dread video. So maybe you can watch one of those, and make sure you subscribe to Gibby's Spooky Shack.